My name is Natalie Collins, and I'm 32 years old. Right now, I'm sitting on the same couch where my life fell apart, though technically it's half mine now. The other half of everything, the plans, the laughter, the future, walked out the door 3 weeks ago with my fiancé, Frank. It's strange the way silence changes when someone leaves. It used to feel peaceful. Now it feels wider, like the air itself is trying to remind me that there used to be another heartbeat here. 3 weeks ago, I was convinced I was about to marry the love of my life. We'd just signed the contract for a rustic barn wedding next fall. The venue was everything I'd ever dreamed of: wooden beams, fairy lights, and a long aisle lined with candles. We even joked about what song we'd dance to first. Maybe something classic, Frank said, kissing my forehead. Something that feels like us. But it turns out he didn't really know what us meant anymore. That night started like any other. I came home with Thai takeout, his favorite, because he'd had a long day at the gym. He was in the kitchen, picking apart a salad like it had personally offended him. "Hey," I said, smiling. "You okay?" He didn't look at me, just sighed, like he was rehearsing for something heavier. "Natalie, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Those 5 words have a way of rearranging your entire future in a single breath. He looked nervous, but his voice was steady. "This whole wedding thing, it's a lot. I love you, but I keep wondering if I'm ready. If I'm just doing this because it's the next step, I feel like I need to explore my options before we get married." Explore his options. Like we were talking about new cars, not 5 years of a shared life. I just stared at him, waiting for the punchline that never came. The words hung in the air, heavier than they sounded. He shifted uncomfortably, waiting for me to cry or scream or beg him to stay. But instead, something inside me just clicked off. I nodded slowly. "Okay, Frank, I hear you." He blinked, clearly thrown off. "That's it. You said you want to explore your options," I said, my voice calm, detached. "Then you should. Go ahead." There was a pause. His confusion turned to discomfort, then mild irritation. "You're not mad." "No," I said, standing up carefully, placing the takeout on the counter. "You made your choice. I'm just acknowledging it." He gave me this uneasy smile, like he was hoping I'd crack, that I'd beg him not to do this. But I didn't. Instead, I walked to the home office, shut the door behind me, and opened my laptop. That night, while he scrolled through his phone in the living room pretending nothing had changed, I began quietly dismantling the life we'd built together. The wedding venue booked in my name and paid with my savings canceled. The caterer and photographer canceled. The honeymoon 2 tickets to Italy refunded. Our shared subscriptions, bank transfers, passwords, all reset to reflect my new reality single. I didn't do it out of revenge. It was simply administration. Tying up the loose ends of a story that had ended long before either of us admitted it. The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed and a folded note on the dresser. He said he needed a few days to clear his head. I didn't reply. 2 days later, I got a text. "Frank, the venue just called. They said the wedding's been canceled." "What the hell, Natalie?" I thought you were exploring your options." I decided to explore mine too. For the first time in days, I smiled. It wasn't happiness exactly, more like peace. The kind of peace that comes after the final sound of a slammed door. The knock came 2 days later. 3 sharp, impatient thuds that made the walls shake. I opened the door, and there he was, Frank. But he wasn't alone. Beside him stood Kendra, the trainer from his gym. The same woman I once caught laughing a little too long at his jokes when I visited him after work. She looked exactly like someone who didn't expect to be seen by the person she helped betray. Her eyes darted to the floor, then to Frank, waiting for a cue. "Natalie," Frank said, voice tight, like he'd rehearsed this too. "We need to talk." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You sure that's a good idea? You might miss your next option." His jaw tightened. "You canceled the wedding, Natalie. You had no right." "No right," I repeated softly, almost to myself. The contracts were in my name. My money, my card, my right. Kendra shifted awkwardly beside him, clutching her purse like a shield. Frank's tone rose a notch, desperate. "You threw away our future over a stupid misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding." I tilted my head. "You said you wanted to explore your options, Frank. I assumed that meant you didn't want to marry me. Was I wrong?" He hesitated, glancing at Kendra, who suddenly found the floor fascinating. "Natalie, that's not what I meant," he said. "I just needed space to be sure about things." "Then consider this your space," I said, quietly gesturing around the room. "All of it." Frank followed me inside, his anger slowly cracking into panic. "You lost the deposit," he said, his voice rising. "That's $10,000. My parents helped pay for that. That made me stop. I turned to him calm level. Really? Because my bank statement shows that every payment came from my account. If your parents contributed, you can send me the transfer receipt and I'll refund their portion. He opened his mouth, then closed it. They gave me cash, he stammered. It's all mixed in. I nodded as if considering it. Then you can find that cash and send it back whenever you're ready. Until then, the cancellation stands. Kendra shifted closer to the door, clearly uncomfortable now. Her voice was small. Maybe this isn't the best time, Frank. He spun toward her, frustration boiling over. Don't start, Kendra. The irony of it almost made me laugh. The man who wanted to explore options was already fighting with one. I picked up a small duffel bag I'd packed earlier. You said you needed space, I said. I'm giving it to you. I'll be staying at Samantha's for a few days. You two can take all the time you need to figure out your next step. Natalie, come on, don't be like this, Frank pleaded, his voice cracking for the first time. We can fix this. No, I said quietly. You can't fix something you chose to break. For a second, the room went still, like even the air had stopped listening to him. Then I walked past them both out the door and down the hallway without looking back. Behind me, I heard Kendra whisper something like, "You didn't tell me she was before the door shut." That night at Samantha's place, I finally let myself cry. Not because I missed him, but because it felt like I'd just finished tearing down a house I once built with my bare hands. And as I wiped my face, something settled deep inside me, a kind of stillness I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't his safety net anymore. I was free. The first few days after I left were blissfully silent. No messages, no calls, no explanations, just the steady hum of peace that came with having no one around to lie to me. But silence, like everything else Frank touched, didn't last long. It started with a phone call from an unknown number one morning. I almost didn't pick up. "Natalie, sweetheart, it's Sharon." I didn't need clarification. The strained sweetness in her voice gave it away. Frank's mother. "Hi, Sharon," I said, keeping my tone polite. "What can I do for you?" She sighed dramatically, like a woman rehearsing for a soap opera. "I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Frank told us everything. He said you overreacted, that he only asked for a little time to think, and you went and canceled everything behind his back." I stared out the window, the morning light cutting across my coffee cup. "He told you that, did he?" "Natalie, he's devastated," she continued, her voice cracking just enough to sound rehearsed. "He made a mistake, yes, but you've humiliated him. The venue called us too. $10,000 gone. We helped him pay for that deposit." I took a slow breath. "If that's true, Sharon, please email me the bank record showing your contribution. Once I receive it, I'll reimburse you immediately." Silence. "Natalie, you don't have to be so cold," she said finally. "Can't you just be a lady about this?" I smiled faintly. "I'm being exactly that. Calm, logical, honest. Try it sometime." Then I hung up. The next day, my phone started buzzing again, this time with notifications from friends. Apparently, Frank had gone public. He was telling everyone that I'd lost my mind, that I'd canceled our wedding out of paranoia, that he'd just needed space and I'd ruined everything. The story spread like spilled wine, fast, messy, and impossible to fully clean up. Mutual friends started messaging me cautiously. "Hey, Natalie, what happened? Frank said you panicked and threw everything away. Is it true you're seeing someone else already?" I didn't argue. Instead, I sent one screenshot. Just one. His text. "I feel like I need to explore my options before we get married." And beneath it, my reply. "Go ahead." No explanations, no context, just facts. The silence that followed from those friends was better than any apology. That night, I met my best friend, Samantha, for dinner. She listened quietly as I told her everything from the explore talk to Sharon's guilt tripping. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair, arms folded. "So he cheats, lies, humiliates you, and still expects you to pay for his mess," she said. "I swear these men think emotional labor comes with a tax return." I laughed for the first time in weeks. It's like he genuinely believed I'd just wait for him to come back. Samantha's tone softened. "You don't owe anyone closure, Natalie. Especially not people who broke you just to see if you'd still love them after." Her words stayed with me that night as I lay awake. Maybe I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Maybe the truth didn't need to be shouted. It just needed to be quietly undeniable. The next morning, I opened my laptop and began sorting through every document Frank and I had shared. Bank records, lease agreements, credit cards. Something told me this wasn't over yet, that he wasn't just trying to save face. He was trying to rewrite the story. And I had a feeling I was about to find his first draft. It was a rainy Thursday when I went back to the apartment. The air inside still smelled faintly like his cologne, that expensive one I bought him for his birthday. It felt wrong somehow that I had to inhale the scent of a man who'd treated my love like a free trial he could cancel any time. I was just there to collect the last of my things, some clothes, a few books, my grandmother's porcelain jewelry box. But on the kitchen counter, under a pile of unopened mail, something caught my eye. A credit card bill. My credit card. The one I'd let Frank use as an authorized user because at the time we were building a life together. I almost didn't open it, but when I did, my hands went cold. Dinner for two at a steakhouse, $278. Hotel stay for two, $612. Spa packages, wine tastings, movie tickets, flowers. Each charge dated before the night he told me he needed to explore. So this wasn't confusion. It wasn't a moment of doubt. It was a pattern, a carefully planned betrayal that had been unfolding while he smiled at me across our shared dinner table. For a few seconds, I just stood there, numb, breathing too slowly, heart pounding too hard. And then for the first time since it all began, I felt something sharper than heartbreak. Rage. Not the loud kind, not the dramatic kind, just a quiet, surgical anger that sliced through every trace of pity I'd ever had for him. I took pictures of the entire bill, every line item, every date. Then I sat at the kitchen counter, opened my laptop, and started typing. Subject apartment lease and outstanding balance. Frank. Hope you're doing well. As discussed previously, I will be assuming full responsibility for the apartment lease. Please submit the removal form to the landlord by the end of the week. Additionally, I found credit card charges made under your authorized account, including several dated before your exploration began. I've covered the payment, but these were personal expenses. The total comes to $1.87. I've deducted your share of the security deposit, $700. Please transfer the remaining $157.34 directly to my account by Friday to avoid escalation. If payment isn't received, I'll file a small claims report for unauthorized use of funds. Best Natalie Collins. I read it 3 times before hitting send. No emotion, no name calling, just business. Because that's what our relationship had become, a transaction gone bad. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was him. Frank. Are you kidding me, Natalie? You're seriously sending me invoices now. You've lost it. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message. Frank. Those dinners were for us. We were still together then. So he admitted it. The lies, the deception, the double life, all wrapped neatly in his own text. I took screenshots and filed them away. An hour later, Kendra posted a photo on Instagram, a mirror selfie of her and Frank in matching gym outfits captioned, "Some people take detours to find their real path." I stared at the photo for a long time. Not because it hurt, it didn't nod anymore, but because it confirmed something I hadn't wanted to believe. He hadn't just replaced me. He'd been training for it. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine, turned off my phone, and let the rain fill the silence. For the first time, I wasn't mourning what I lost. I was protecting what was left, my peace, my pride, and the calm precision that came from finally knowing the truth. I realized I didn't need revenge. I just needed to make sure that every consequence had her name written in his handwriting. By the end of that week, the silence returned, but this time it was deliberate, controlled, the kind of silence that follows a final verdict. Frank didn't pay. Of course he didn't, but his parents did. It started with another call from Sharon, her voice colder, now stripped of the fake concern. "Natalie, we received your email. Was that really necessary? You're threatening to take our son to court over a credit card bill." I leaned back in my chair. "Your son charged nearly $2,000 to my card while taking another woman on weekend getaways. I think that's more than fair grounds." Her breath hitched. "He said those were work expenses." "Then I suggest he gets his employer to reimburse him," I said simply. And before she could respond, I ended the call. 3 days later, a transfer appeared in my account, $1,857.34. No note attached. No apology either. Just the quiet admission of guilt that only a bank transaction can deliver. A week after that, the landlord called. Frank and Kendra had failed to submit the lease paperwork. Their combined income couldn't meet the requirements. "Would you like to take the lease in your name alone?" the landlord asked. "Yes," I said without hesitation. It felt symbolic, reclaiming a space that once belonged to us and making it mine again. I scheduled a cleaning service, changed the locks, and left a single envelope taped to the door addressed to Frank and Kendra. Notice to vacate 30 days. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in months. But peace apparently was too quiet for Frank to handle. 2 weeks later, he showed up at my office. He looked thinner, tired, but still carried that arrogant air of a man who believed charm could undo consequences. "Natalie," he said, standing in the lobby like he still belonged in my life, "please just hear me out." My coworkers exchanged awkward glances. I gestured for him to step outside. He started talking fast, the words tumbling over each other. "Kendra's gone. She left. I messed up, okay? I didn't mean any of it. I panicked." His eyes glistened, the same way they used to when he wanted me to forgive him for small things forgotten. Anniversaries, broken promises. It was almost impressive how he could still weaponize vulnerability. "Frank," I said quietly, "you didn't lose me because you made a mistake. You lost me because you looked at me. The woman who loved you, built a home with you, and decided I was just another option." He tried to speak, but I cut him off. "You wanted freedom. This is what freedom looks like." He blinked, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not fixing what you broke," I said, stepping back. "Not this time." He stood there speechless before muttering, "You've really changed." I smiled faintly. That was the point. Then I walked away, leaving him standing on the sidewalk like a man watching a train he thought he could stop. A month later, he and Kendra moved out. The apartment was filthy wine stains on the carpet, broken curtain rods, empty protein containers in the sink. But it didn't matter, because for the first time, every inch of that space belonged entirely to me. The cleaning fees came directly out of his deposit, another quiet victory. I used the money I'd saved for the wedding to take the trip to Italy anyway, just me. I wandered through Florence with a camera, watched sunsets in Cinque Terre, and ate gelato on a quiet street corner where no one knew my name. I realized something simple but powerful. I didn't need someone to share my life with. I just needed to stop giving it away to people who didn't value it. Sometimes I still see Frank's name pop up online motivational quotes about forgiveness, gym selfies, and captions like "starting over." But I don't feel anger anymore, because real justice isn't loud. It's the sound of a door locking from the inside. It's the quiet click of a remove user button. It's waking up one morning and realizing peace has finally replaced pain. She wanted to explore her